The Bachelor on ABC, YouTube TV.
We'll wait for a few more people to get in here. Yeah, too loud. Somebody tell me that's too loud. I'm just going to wait for a few more people to get in here, but there's some great news coming up for LSU Odyssey subscribers and fans, and just anybody who happens upon this channel. Like, subscribe, join us. There's some really interesting, crazy stuff going down at LSU right now, and kind of a mixed bag as far as good or bad, but it seems like LSU is really having a fantastic establishment for a 2021 team here. But yeah, we'll wait for a few more people to get in here. Anybody, feel free to shove any questions you may have. Just float them right there up into that chat. And yeah. Yeah. Are you an asshole on? Whatever you feel the need to ask, shoot it away. I'm above no question. Throw it at me. And yeah, we'll talk it out, because there's a lot going on, a lot to cover. I did a video with Mike Rogers. We'll put the link below, but I felt like it wasn't complete. And so yeah, I felt like it wasn't complete. I felt like it didn't have enough, didn't have the info that I wanted to include in there, didn't have the oomph. It was just, I don't know, something was off about it. But we'll just wait for a few more people. Who is your personal favorite for the defensive coordinator job? Adrian. AD, my man. My favorite my personal favorite for the defensive coordinator job. I'm gonna leave that for just a second for a few more people coming here. I feel like I've revealed this a few times, but I don't know. I kind of kept changing it with the times, because there was different targets. There's different people that came on the radar that weren't available at first, now were. I remember Marcus Freeman. At the very first, one of my first videos I ever did about Marcus Freeman, we were talking about how he wasn't going to be available, how LSU wouldn't be able to pay him. He was probably going to stay at Cincinnati or go to Notre Dame or something like that. And we kind of just said, he might have to go off to one side, and we introduced some other candidates. Ryan Nielsen's name was among those. It turned out after Freeman, Nielsen was the guy. We all know why Freeman didn't go down. It's family, geography, moving, 6 kids, don't want to be in the SEC, whatever the reasons. He didn't want to come down, and yeah, it was kind of sad seeing Marcus Freeman not take the job. But after him, we went right around Ryan Nielsen. He was, perfect, great candidate, perfect fit. Everything seemed like a slam dunk, and then that just, Sean Payton's like, nuh-uh, not having it, not gonna have this shit. Sean Payton shuts that down at the 1 centimeter line because of this damn Mickey Loomis clause, which just shows that Loomis is just an evil genius there in New Orleans. Who knows how many coaches or great players they would have lost or have kept because of his contract language alone. That's interesting to me, to see a number on that. How many people he's done that with. But those behind the scenes backroom things we're never usually privy to. But LSUODYSSEY.com is, and what went down was there was a bunch of lawyers, going back and forth and saying, hey, this can we be a little more lenient with this language? Can we, maybe put this in? Can we amend this? And the Saints were just not going to budge. They're like, no, it means what it means. We're not changing a damn thing because Mickey Loomis made it airtight, and there's no way that he could make a lateral move to the collegiate ranks. He had to, if he was going to go to the college ranks, it was going to be a head coaching job because he wants to be the head coach at USC. That's the end goal for him, I believe, is, obviously he wants to win a Super Bowl, I'm sure, of course, but his end goal is he wants to be the head coach at his alma mater, USC, and he will probably get there one day, Ryan Nielsen. Being the defensive coordinator at LSU would have been the perfect catapult for that job, and Sean Payton was not having it, and it was petty. It was petty. It was smart. It was they didn't have to because they're losing Dennis Allen as well. They're losing Terry Fontenot or Tony Fontenot, whatever his first name is. They're losing Jeff Ireland. They're losing guys in the back room who've done such good work for them over the last 5, 6, 7, 8 years. And now they lost Joe Brady before Greg McMahon, who was a brilliant special teams guy who called the onside kick halftime of the Super Bowl against Peyton Manning and the Colts. They lost guys like that. Carter Sheridan, who coached the receivers for almost a decade. They lost these guys to LSU. I think Peyton was like, no, we're not doing this again. We're not a farm for LSU assistants. And I think, there was a report, not by LSU Odyssey. I'm trying to remember who did this report, but it was someone who I would say would be credible. I'm trying to think if it was Brody Miller or Bruce Feldman, but I don't think it was either one. So I don't want to attach any of this to anybody, but I will say that I did read this. This is true, at least from, at least truly reported. If it's true, who knows? But one thing that was reported, and obviously it does seem like there is some truth to it now with what's happened. Sean Payton questioned Coach Orgeron's commitment when he was on his staff in New Orleans. He questioned his, how he coached. He questioned his commitment and questioned something else, like if he was setting up the next job. I think that's what it was. Always trying to set up the next job, Coach Orgeron at the Saints, and that's what supposedly Sean Payton thought of Coach O at the time he left the New Orleans Saints. And I don't know Sean Payton. I can't get him on the phone. Perhaps I could if I called New Orleans Saints secretary. Maybe she could get me through. But we'll see. We'll see. Maybe we could get through to Sean Payton. Crazy dude. Ask him why he blocked us in the end, and quite obviously it's because Ryan Nielsen is a damn good coach, and he had to keep him. So the next guy on that list, Glenn Schumann. Glenn Schumann is, this guy, he's never played a down of football. Never played a down of football. He was a student assistant in Alabama back in 2008. 4 national titles with them as Kirby Smart's right-hand man. He basically built that dynasty as a student assistant. And basically the coffee getter, the analyst at times, the defensive help, the motivator, the recruiter, the tireless driver in the night while Kirby Smart got some Z's on the road. He was in the trenches of what being a football coach is all about, what football is all about. He was in the grind every day, Glenn Schumann. So I think Glenn Schumann, he's an interesting guy because, he went to Georgia and immediately that linebacking crew and that defense were awesome again. Like they rose their level obviously because of Kirby Smart and his recruiting, of course, but 12.6 points per game? Are you kidding me? And then something like 276 total yards per game. That's a travesty. That's an outrageous. That's a brilliant statistic, and that's even after LSU did what we did to them in the SEC title game. Glenn Schumann was coaching the inside linebackers during that game, and they, of course, Joe Burrow did them for a few plays. Of course, he's always going to do that, but he was fantastic. He was coaching these guys up. Glenn Schumann's an interesting candidate, but Adrian Perkins says percentage chance of Eric coming back. Eric Gilbert, I'm not sure. Eric, I think it's Eric, but I'm not sure. Percentage chance of Eric coming back. Now, this is another big draw for why I wanted people to come on the video. I do have some information on that, and I want to tie that up just a little bit. Let's see here. Okay. Well, percentage chance of Eric Gilbert coming back for me, just before I even clear up this source, I'm going to say 80-20. I mean, why not? He would be such a featured target next year. Think about it. LSU would be Kayshon Boutte and Eric Gilbert, and then a lot of unproven. Okay? I mean, and we're even talking about some superstar 2021 dudes. And that could be Brian Thomas joining Chris Hilton, Deion Smith. I mean, Deion, this guy, I mean, my man AD really loves Deion, but I really think the world's going to love Deion because I think he's really that good. Chris Hilton, he gets the headlines, but Deion, he was a huge get. Number one player out of Mississippi. He might be the star of the wide receiving class, even though JoJo Earle was a highlight machine, and we lost him to Alabama, and that felt like it hurt at the time. When you see what Deion does, it's kind of like, oh my god, like he's not even close to finished evolving either. So like, if this is Deion at his worst or just at his most raw capability, you're in for a brilliant receiver. But Chris Hilton, he's going to be a great receiver as well. Brian Thomas, hopefully he joins. Jack Besh. I mean, this guy's a freak. I mean, I think there's a lot of things that Jake Peets and DJ Mangus are going to do with him offensively that's going to be just awesome. And that's why I want to see Eric Gilbert come back, is because Eric Gilbert could be used here, could be used in the backfield, could be used. You could put him anywhere on the field, and he's going to be effective and strikingly so. I saw him rush just in an I formation with a fullback in front of him. Everybody knew he was getting the ball on the field. There was no motions or any trickery. He was just handed the ball, Eric Gilbert. And this is in a high school game again. I believe it was for a state title game or semifinal at Marietta. And he was handed the ball, and he just absolutely destroyed the defensive tackle, blew him off his face, just deleted the guy. A few other people in his path. It was unbelievable from Eric Gilbert. And right then I was like, wow, this guy is something special, because he's not only just powerful, he's fast as well. He like hit that hole. Like it was crazy. It was interesting. It was like Najee Harris type burst. And I'm not even joking. Eric Gilbert showed very little of his full total capabilities, I believe, in his freshman year. And I believe between, maybe that's because of a few things. His shoulder injury, just got up that surgery, being a freshman, just being a young kid, his first year, college level, just that adjustment. And 3, our offense was just too damn vanilla to know how to use him right. I mean, I look at his reception numbers, and people want to say, "Oh, they're high," and all that. I go, "Okay, they are, yeah," but they weren't effective receptions. We never went to him on third down. We never, and if we did, it was an interception. It was a bad pass. We forced it, and it was always because everybody knew it was coming because we finally were going to him on third down. We never went to him on first down enough. We never threw it to him up the seams enough. So Eric Gilbert, he wasn't done right by LSU as a freshman, but I guarantee you he'll be done right by LSU this coming year because of the hires Coach O made. I mean, Ensminger could have stayed on, and it wouldn't have mattered. Ensminger, Peets, Mengus, that would have been and Munoz. Now it would have been a fantastic staff. But Peets, Mengus, Munoz, they're gonna know exactly what to do with Eric Gilbert. He is going to be a fantastic re-addition to the 2021 team if he comes back, and let's hope he does, because there's whispers of great players leaving left and right, and I hope to the LSU gods that we are wrong on that. I know we are not. I know we have not. We're not being told some type of deceptive information. This is by somebody who I would trust with a lot of things, and they're saying, some very. I'm not gonna lie. It doesn't look good for LSU, but at the same time, LSU have a great chance to still keep him back, still keep him from going. He wants to stay at LSU, but there's things that perhaps are beyond football that might lead him elsewhere. And that's all I'm going to say about that, because I have a lot of respect for the family of Eli and for Eli himself. I really good people. Shauna has been nothing but amazing to me. She answered my call without even thinking about it. And I was just this random number calling her to ask if she could do an interview. And I was like, "Oh, I'm so sorry. I shouldn't have called. It was a total accident that I even called her. I was just going to send a text because I didn't want to bother her. I know she's a very busy woman. So that she could just get back to me if she wanted to, or never reply, which, that obviously means no to the interview request." She answers it immediately and says, No, it's okay. And says, "Call me anytime, day or night." Like, she was like as nice as you could possibly be as a human being. And I know Baton Rouge has opened up to the Ricks family. They want them to stay. They love Eli and his family. I know that Shauna, knowing her, she's probably killing it in the real estate game there in Baton Rouge. I've heard from very good sources that she is. Yeah, I can't see why Eli would leave other than to maybe meet up with Race John Davis at USC with Corey Foreman, or if Race John Davis chooses to go to Ohio State, maybe to meet up with him there. But I just still, even if Race John were to not recommit to LSU, I cannot see Eli decommitting. He's a superstar here. He is so loved here. It's just the ceiling is so high for him here, especially with Derek Stingley there. They're going to be throwing to Eli all the time. The pickings are there. If you 4 interceptions this year, and he barely even played in some of the games, and there were gaps where he didn't play. There's gaps where he was hurt or with that shoulder injury against Florida, or suspended because of Arkansas as well, and for that targeting hit, as they claim. Bad call. So there was plays where he wasn't there. There was games where he wasn't there. So with all those extra snaps, with Stingley, the peak of his powers again, fully healthy out there, they're going to be throwing at Ricks, ad nauseum. He's going to have a chance to get 7, 6 interceptions this year. He could absolutely do that this year. And I see them also, opponents were very, very smart against us. It was very simple. Okay, well, I'm not going to throw against Eli or Derek, but there's Cordell Flott, and it seems like there's Damone Clark over here covering some guys. And so when you see those type of guys, Cordell Flott, Damone Clark, you pick on them nonstop. You pick on them nonstop because it's too easy. It's too easy. Those teams just destroyed us. And I think if we could put Jay Ward in the slot, LSU wouldn't be so picked on. Maybe even move Jay Ward to free safety if Mo Hampton and Todd Harris can't do it, because Jay Ward has fantastic range. There's a brilliant play in the red zone against Florida that highlights this. He comes flying over from about 30 yards, boom, smacks that ball at the apex, right when Trask about to throw a touchdown. LSU just completely prevents one. And he had another one as well on the same drive, I believe, before his interceptions. But Jay Ward has shown a vast improvement in versatility. I have a lot of good expectations for Jay Ward as well. Callaway. We need to solidify the DC position. Adrian Perkins says, yeah, that's the thing, man. It's got to be Glenn Schumann or you know, I don't want to piss LSU fans off, but there's a name that just keeps rolling off the top of my head. You know, as a guy that LSU could actually get. I don't think it's a fantasy. LSU might have to pay. You know, we might have to throw some money, but I don't think it's a fantasy. Pete Golding from Alabama. Yes. I believe LSU could get Pete Golding from Alabama. We might have to pay around $3 million per year to get him, though. Is he worth it? I don't know. But at the same time, I feel like, you know, if Nick Saban trusts this guy so implicitly as like the only man on earth who can run his defense, next to, like, say, Kirby Smart, who did it, you know, as they built the dynasty at Alabama, maybe taking that guy from Saban, as well as then getting a really good young defensive coordinator who's a Hammond, Louisiana native, that's killing two birds with one stone. Is it worth $3.5, maybe $3 million a year to get Pete Golding? Has he been really that proven anywhere without Nick Saban? The question's no. Is that a risk LSU are willing to take? We'll see. I mean, they've taken some crazy risks before, and they've paid off. But Pete Golding would be a fantastic steal, I feel, just to really hurt Alabama there, because then Saban would be thrust into some, you know, quick hire of Jeremy Pruitt, and Jeremy Pruitt would ruin Alabama and their defense from the inside out. And if they couldn't score 80 points a game, they weren't going to beat LSU in 2021. That's the route I feel LSU should potentially go. I mean, maybe Pete Golding is the answer for the next, you know, 3 or 4 years, because that's how you got to, you know, perceive coaching now. It's not like this guy's going to be here for 10 years like Brent Venables. You know, those people are rare. They're probably going to be there for about 3, maybe at the most 4. And you need to kind of plan for that and for that trajectory. Pete Golding, 3 or 4 years at LSU, what could he do here? What do you think? 80, what do you think Pete Golding could actually do here at LSU in 3 or 4 years? If given the most high-octane defensive staff for LSU, I mean defensive roster for LSU, you're talking about, you know, Stingley, Ricks, Ojulari, Guy, Mason Smith, Jaquelin Roy, and then you got, you know, those guys behind him, Andre Anthony, Landon Jackson, Savion Jones, Joseph Evans as well. He was showing some promise at defensive tackle. There's Eric Taylor, another guy we stole out of Alabama, a Bama defector. So there's a lot of fantastic weapons this LSU defensive front could use, but it's about the linebackers. The linebackers were really bad last year. Damone Clark had a bad year. He made up for it at the end of the year with some gutty performances, but he had a bad year. I think in the right system, maybe Damone can have a complete 180 this year, but we'll find out if he's only a true 3-4 linebacker, or if his problem was Bo Pelini. We'll find that out this year, because I think whoever LSU is going to hire, it's going to be someone who's more reliant on four-man fronts, but isn't beholden to them, and so hybridized schemes, that type of hire is what LSU has been looking for. That's been the pattern, especially that I sense, and that's the need that I felt LSU needed. LSU could have a top 5 defensive year, absolutely, and they should. The players that they bring in, they should. That's the important word. They should. Whoever the AD says, whoever the DC is, will have a big box of shiny toys to play with. Yes, they will. I mean, Ojulari, Guy, Mason Smith, Landon Jackson, Savion Jones, Eli Ricks, Derek Stingley. You could mold Damone Clark into a fantastic linebacker once again. Remember, this is the guy who had 49 tackles off the bench. He started some games. I believe he did start the Alabama game on the sheet. Patrick Queen came in to steal his job later in that game, but I believe Damone Clark started the Alabama game as well. Damone Clark, 49 tackles, some great plays off the bench in the 2019 team. He's had so much experience here at LSU, and he's back, and I feel like Damone Clark could absolutely rise from the ashes and have a brilliant, brilliant campaign. Micah Baskerville was not given a chance after Bo Pelini repped him so hard all offseason. Bo Pelini was saying, Micah Baskerville. And you heard it from Coach O as well. Micah Baskerville. But then we never saw Micah Baskerville. They never played him. It was very weird. It was like, where the hell is Micah Baskerville? And then finally we saw him, and he was fantastic for LSU in a few games. I mean, he answered my question about could he stop Najee Harris. He actually did on a few one-on-one stops. I was shocked. I mean, yes, Najee completely blew through LSU, and it was just LSU were blown off the field, of course. But for the most part, LSU, we could trust Micah Baskerville when he was on the field. He really showed up against Ole Miss as well. He had a fantastic game there. Texas A&M, he was really good against them. We missed him against Florida. I believe he was out for COVID. Clark, Flott, and Hampton can all bounce back and show their 2019. Yes, that's what I'm saying, man. Yeah, Flott. I've never seen a player. I mean, I'm not picking on him. Don't anybody think this. I'm not picking on Cordell Flott. But the truth is, I've never seen anybody, single individual player, beaten so much in a single season. There was no justice for Cordell. There was no justice for all for Cordell. And he was picked on mercilessly, ruthlessly by certain offensive. Oh, hey, Rivers. What's up, buddy? Come here. Hey, have a treat. There's a treat right there. Here, eat your treat. Yeah, he was picked on by a bunch of offensive coordinators like it was just too easy because you're not going to attack Stingley. You're not going to attack Ricks. So you go after Cordell Flott, the easy slot guy. It was too easy. It was too easy. One second. Rivers was trapped. He was trapped on the landing, barking his head off. Okay, so Clark, yeah, that's the thing. Mo Hampton. But here, wait, I wasn't finished with Flott. Cordell Flott, man, he was beaten for, I think, 11 touchdowns it was individual touchdowns is what I was done counting by the end of the season. I think it was 11, yeah, because it was 9 by the second to last game, and then it was 2 more in the final game. Yeah, he had a beaten for 11 touchdowns. I mean, and it wasn't just the touchdowns, mercilessly just destroyed on the big play, time after time after time. It didn't matter where he was on the field. His confidence was absolutely shot. If you watch the first play of the game against Mississippi State, the first play of the season, Cordell Flott, who came into the season so hyped to the point that he kept Eli Ricks off the field until, Derek Stingley was out in the first game injured, so then Eli had to play, of course. They were forced to play Eli, and they should have been starting him before that anyway. But Cordell, the first play of the season, Cordell is burnt mercilessly for, I think it's maybe only 8 yards, but you see him get up and kind of get adjusted to it, but then he gets burnt for 15 yards after that. And it's just too easy for KJ Costello. He just picks on him for the rest of the game. It's just, and I don't know what's going on. I believe it's mental for Cordell Flott, because I saw him pull off some amazing plays as well. Not only this year, not only in 2020, when he was struggling really bad, but also in the 2019 national title year. He was fantastic in a lot of different plays of that year, especially against Alabama, in his home state. I remember that game against Tuscaloosa. He came in for, I think it was a banged-up Christian Fulton, and he's, Tua was running these slant routes against him. And I think he's against Devontae Smith on a few of these, or it could have been Ruggs, but either way, or maybe Jalen Waddle. Either way, it was going to be a first-round, second-round NFL draft talent coming right at him. And every time Cordell Flott, I think he had just 1 pass deflection in that game, but then he had 3 in a row in the 2019 season against Arkansas, against Ole Miss as well. I think he finished with 4 pass deflections in all total in the season, but he also affected a lot of other incompletions that he just didn't get statistical credit for, where he's just, coming in at the last second, just all over the guy, affecting the pass. He was really damn good at that. I got to give him credit. He earned that lowest opposition completion percentage, but at the same time, that was because he played fewer snaps than Stingley. Obviously, that's obviously why he got that stat over Derek Stingley, who was second. No offense, Cordell. Can Cordell Flott respond in 2021? I believe so. I believe our man Cordell has been, punched. He's been kicked. He's been knocked down. He's been dragged down. But I think Cordell is going to rebound in 2021 with a strong Tiger season. I think it's all mental for Cordell. He has the abilities that are NFL talents. I mean, that's why Alabama were right on his trail in his home state. I mean, they were all over this guy. And so to keep Cordell Flott, mentally focused on the season, what is his biggest issue? I think it was that we're moving him around slot to outside on the wing corner. Just keep him in the slot. That's where he plays his best football. I know he got burnt there as well, but that's where he can shine his best. Is where his attributes fit the most. Put him at slot and keep him there. But also, we can utilize Jay Ward a hell of a lot more. And Mo Hampton, if Mo Hampton, here's the thing. Mo Hampton had a fantastic 2019, just like Flott and just like Damone Clark. But Hampton, you saw him just catching air on a few of these tackles and taking really bad angles. And I know we want to blame Bo Pelini at every turn possible. But a lot of the times, that's just bad playing too. I know everybody says, well, the buck stops with the coach. It's always on the coach. I never blame players. Okay, well, maybe you never played the game of football either, because I played the game of football as well. And there's just times when you take ownership that you took a bad angle. Maybe Pelini put you in a really crappy position to begin with. That's up to you to identify that on the field and maybe improvise, go off script. Maybe that was the thing. Maybe the team should have mutinied against Pelini a lot earlier in the season. And maybe we would have been better off. But either way, it was a very crazy season, and I think Mohampton will come back. I think he'll come good. But here's the thing: he's in competition for Todd Harris for snaps, and so when they're both in there at the same time, I feel like they're just trying to do too much, and they're just playing way too soft coverage, way too far off, way too just. I don't like that. I feel like we need to be pressing our opponents in the opponent's face. I'd rather go down attacking, saying, hey, we tried everything to beat these guys, rather than go down saying, like, what just hit us? Because that's the thing that drove me nuts as an LSU fan in 2020. It was always like, we just lost to Missouri by 45 to 41. Are you serious? We just lost to them? Whoa. Like it felt like it was like, where did this come from? How did this even happen? And I feel like we can never let that happen again in this program. LSU is too good for that to happen. 3 national championships, 4 appearances since the year 2000, since 2003. LSU could be a dynasty under Coach Orgeron if we play our cards right. I mean, it's all about Coach O here. He's got to make the right moves. I want to know in the chat if anybody has the balls, anyone has the brass, anybody has the stones, whatever word, PC word. I don't want to offend anybody. Whatever word you want to use for cojones, the guts to ask if Derek Panamsky could do better at his job, if Coach O should look to hire counsel, if everything at LSU is doing is okay behind the scenes. That is the number one question I get from you, the fans, from you, the LSU Odyssey subscribers. The number one question I get is, what's going on at LSU right now? What's going on behind the scenes? And I'm not going to shy away from it. I'm not going to back down, whether other people want to hide and pretend that everything's fine. I'm going to point it out. People are asking me, what's going down at LSU? Why are big names leaving? Why can't we get these guys? And I feel like it's a combination of a few things. I feel like it's not all just Orgeron is losing the program. I don't think anything is like that. I feel like Orgeron is doing a fantastic job. But I feel like maybe the people he surrounds himself with are maybe yes men, maybe giving him too much, bad advice. Maybe this, Austin Thomas coming back to LSU. Maybe that's a really good thing. Maybe Austin Thomas coming back to LSU is a fantastic idea because, even though he wasn't there when we won the national championship, he helped kind of build the framework for that 2019 team, and he's a hell of a recruiter as well. He's a jack of all trades as well. Behind the scenes, he does a lot. He takes care of a lot. I think Austin Thomas coming in is a fantastic hire. But I've also heard that Scott Woodward is the one who's in charge of the defensive coordinator search. That's not confirmed by me. That's not reported by me. I'm not going to report that until I actually hear that from a source. I haven't heard that from a source yet. That Scott Woodward is the sole person leading the DC search. But I have heard that. It's interesting to me. Do you think Scott Woodward is running this? Panamsky and Woodward. What do you mean by that, AD? Panamsky and Woodward. Do you think they're good? Do you think they're bad? What do you think they're doing? Do you think they're doing a good job, bad job? Do you think they should be better? Could get better? Because I feel like those guys were perfect for those jobs. And Panamsky's I think he was probably perfect to be Orgeron's side guy. But here's the thing. We've got to do our due diligence, especially me. I got to get better at what I do. We all got to get better. 2020 has sucked. It's kicked us down. But 2021, we're not going to have any of that crap. We could all do a lot better here. 2021 is the time for LSU to really put in the pain on Alabama. Okay? Alabama, their dynasty is close to done, I feel. I don't feel like they're just going to keep running and running and running and running. Because at the end of the day, it's about one man and one man only, and that's Nick Saban. If Nick Saban goes, if Nick Saban leaves, if Nick Saban anything happens to Nick Saban, if Nick Saban decides to call it quits, that program vanishes overnight. LSU is not in the same situation. Think about that. Think about that. How does Alabama recruit? You want to win a national title under Nick Saban. That's how they recruit. That's how they recruit. Okay? How does LSU recruit? It's not come win a national title under Coach O. We say that, of course, now because we have won a national title under Coach O, and we did kick Nick Saban's ass in his own house. But what do we say? What do we say? Come win a national title at LSU. Be a Tiger. Wear the purple and gold. Play in Death Valley. Represent NFLSU at the next level, because you know it like I know it. All the Tigers go to the NFL and bring it home, baby. So, point is, LSU can sell their brand at the end of the day. We have a lasting brand that can it can outlast, it can survive the loss of Les Miles, who at one day, we laugh now, but there was one day when Les Miles was the end-all, be-all at LSU. He was the god at LSU because he delivered the second championship. He proved that we could win a championship after Saban. And then he took us on an undefeated ride in 2011, all the way up to that title game. Les Miles could do no wrong. Coach of the year that year as well. 2011 solidified Les Miles' reputation, especially on the recruiting trail. And he was never really that good of a coach. But the point is that it survived the big hit of Les Miles and now left LSU. How can LSU continue their recruiting greatness of Les Miles? How could they? And Les Miles, he was only recruiting good because of Nick Saban before him. How can they continue this? How can they get? And it didn't matter. Coach Orgeron came in there, picked right up, and Coach Orgeron is the greatest recruiter mankind has ever known. We know this. But there's something about LSU that you can sell, the brand that you can sell to these players that they believe in, that they trust, that they know will come good for them in the end. And that's something that Alabama doesn't have. Now, I feel like Alabama's dynasty, it's been outrageous. It's something that LSU may never, ever equal or top, at least not in our lifetime. Maybe they will. Maybe they will in the next decade. Who the hell knows? But at the same time, when Nick Saban decides to hang it up at Alabama, that's the time that LSU will kick it into high gear, where it's not just LSU winning the SEC West or competing for the SEC West or in the first or second spot in the SEC once every 4, 5, 3 years. It's going to be where LSU are winning the SEC West every single year, and that's a reality a lot of other colleges in the SEC West are going to have to accept. LSU have a recruiting dominance that's only going to continue, and it's not because of just Coach Orgeron. It's the allure of the program itself. Program's in fantastic shape. I think we need to seal this DC hire to keep the current roster as is. I think there's a few players who are thinking of taking off if this DC hire is not fortified and if it's not solid, if it's based on just a rushed reaction, and if there's bad optics, which a lot of these kids follow, sadly. The media optics go bad, they just switch immediately. I've seen it so many times, and it's because they're young. It's because they're inundated with social media. And that's why you can tell, some of these kids who have better parents who kind of keep them away from that social media. No, we're keeping you away from that noise, and because it really is noise, and it really can force these decisions to happen, and it's nothing good to play any part in. I don't think 20 or 22 returning starters for LSU. I think that's just a fantastic start. That's just a fantastic start to the 2021 season. A great establishment. That in and of itself proves that Orgeron, Panamsky, Woodward. They're all doing something right. But all of those great, high caliber, experienced guys coming back, that's all well and good. But they've got to mesh with the 2021 recruits. And LSU have got to finish off this 21 class strong here. We have to get Brian Thomas. We have to get Brian Thomas. We have to get Dante Balfour, cornerback that Adrian pointed me out to from Florida. This guy, very lengthy as well. He fits that 6'2" mold at DB for LSU. He looks like a complete Corey Raymond protege, Dante Balfour. He's got that offer. We'll see if he comes to LSU. That'd be fantastic. He's a friend of Demarius McGay, so there's a connection there at LSU. But hey, it could be just like the Eric Wilson thing, where suddenly that transfer just kaput because of Jabril Cox's academics or some other weird contract snafu, or perhaps Notre Dame's leprechaun comes in and attacks somebody or something at the last second. Who knows? No, I'm not saying LSU are cursed. I swear. No, I'm not. I promise. It's felt like that lately. It's been crazy. It's felt like it's just been bad news for LSU. Bad news, bad news. And I remember a time where it feels like LSU pointed and it was, okay, we want that coach. We want that recruit. And it's like you can't view life like that. You can't view anything like that. You have to earn everything. And I think maybe it's a good, humbling experience, the 2021 season for the program. It might save the LSU program having to go back from zero and say, hey, what have we got? But at the same time, when you look across that roster, it's not going back to zero. I mean, this is LSU's greatest of all time quarterback room. You heard me. This is the greatest of all time quarterback room. Better than Jamarcus, Matt Flynn, and who else is in that quarterback room? Jamarcus Russell, Matt Flynn. Anyway, there's a third guy in there. Jamarcus Russell, Matt Flynn. I mean, that was a great quarterback room, but this one is outrageous. Miles Brennan, Max Johnson. Right there. You just got two record-breaking starters for LSU right there. Then you got TJ Finley, who is he going to transfer? Is he not? It seems like he's leaning towards staying at LSU, which is fantastic if he stays. But if you think LSU are going to have 4 quarterbacks on the roster plus Walker Kinney behind them, that's 5. Aucoin, that's 6. You're out of your mind. Someone will transfer, and my money will be on TJ Finley, because here's the thing. Jake Peetz is fantastic at the RPO action. Jake Peetz loves RPOs. Yes, Matt Mock. That's the name, Matt Mock. I knew he won a national championship, so I was like, I'm so pissed off I'm forgetting this name. But Matt Mock. Matt Flynn. Matt Mock. I knew he was a bald white guy. I knew it. I was like, he's a bald white guy who fumbles a lot. And we still win because our defense is so damn good. Yep, that was the 2003-04 season. I remember very, very well. That was an awesome night. I loved Nick Saban so much. I loved him back then. He was my hero. I love Nick Saban. And you know what? I'll say it right now. I love Nick Saban still. He's a good man. He's a good man. We're going to kick his ass. I love you, Nick Saban, for what you did for LSU. But we're going to finish you off at Alabama in the worst way possible, where it's going to not be a fun ending for you. It's going to be like Urban Meyer's Florida. I mean, you're going to be like, it's going to be intense, man. I mean, it's going to be intense. Bring the heartburn medication. Bring the Mylanta, or whatever that medication is, Pepto-Bismol. Bring it all, man, because it's about to come. The heat is about to come, bro. Okay? Yes, sir. Roll Tide, what? You. Yep. Indeed, Adrian. Roll Tide, what? Yeah. Say it with me right now. Roll Tide, what? At home, everybody, say it with me now. Roll Tide, what? Yeah. Okay, yep. Oh, wait, I've actually heard back from the Eric Gilbert source. Hopefully, yes. Now I know this person. That's a good thing for LSU. Hopefully, yes means that there's talk of him coming back. So that's a good thing. There's talk in the locker room of there's talk in the LSU locker room. I can safely say that Eric Gilbert might come back. So that means that not only have LSU kept reaching out to him, that means that LSU are having success re-recruiting Eric Gilbert. Because that's what Orgeron humbly said the second they lost Eric Gilbert was he's to the transfer portal. He's like, we got to re-recruit him. And we got to re-recruit him at any cost. No matter what the price. Got to re-recruit him. Kick some ass. I can't do Coach O, but I can one day. I will one day. Mark my words. But yeah, anyway, Pete Golding, Glenn Schumann, defensive coordinator for LSU. Who would these young guys excel the most with? Glenn Schumann? Can you see Glenn Schumann coaching Mohampton, Cordell Flott, Damone Clark to success? Can you see that? Can you see Pete Golding coaching those guys to success in 2021? Can you see the hire of Pete Golding or Glenn Schumann keeping Eli Ricks at LSU, keeping Race John Davis from Ohio State and USC and staying at LSU, recommitting to LSU on signing day? Can you see all that? Could you see Golding? Could you see Pete Golding being the defensive coordinator for LSU? Alabama to LSU. What a defection. That cost a lot of money, though. My money, though, if I'm a betting man, is on Glenn Schumann. He's going to be cheaper, for one. He's going to be more available. It seems like Will Muschamp, I don't know what the latest is on him, but he's going to Georgia for something. I think Glenn Schumann, Dan Lanning are going to be annoyed just anyway by Kirby, bringing another guy in when those two seem to have renewed their trust in the project at Georgia. And it seemed like Dan Lanning turned away the Texas job. Like he was like, I'm staying at Georgia. And so I felt like, hey, that means we can go in and get Glenn Schumann because Dan Lanning ain't going anywhere. He can be the defensive coordinator while Schumann then comes to LSU if we lose NIELSEN. So now that has happened, but is Schumann out there? Is he available? I believe so. I believe for $1.5 to $2.5 million per year, we could get him from the clutches of Georgia. It would cost a lot of money. People will probably say, "Oh, he's making $600K right now. He's making, yeah. So what? It doesn't matter what he's making right now. It matters what he's going to be making when he's wearing purple and gold on our sideline after coaching a national title game against Georgia. I mean, with Georgia against Alabama. He's got 4 rings from his time at Alabama. Glenn Schumann's going to cost a lot of money. He's Kirby Smart's right-hand man. He was Kirby Smart's first hire when he got the job at Georgia. He basically went into the dark, into the abyss. He basically started the Michael Scott Company, and Glenn Schumann was his Pam. Glenn Schumann was his Pam. His first, when he started the Michael Scott paper company, when Kirby Smart left to Alabama to go into head coaching, to go to Georgia, see if he could take on Saban for the control of the SEC. It was then that he was basically like, hey, you know what? You're my Pam. This is the Michael Scott paper company. You're my Pam, Glenn Schumann. I need you. I can't do this. I can't start this without you, bro. Pulled Glenn Schumann in. And Glenn Schumann, they instantly were fantastic there. So I think Glenn Schumann's a fantastic hire if LSU go after him. I think he's young, innovative, he's relatable. The kids love him. He's an SEC champion already, 4-time national champion, 5 times he's played for the national title game. He's taken on Nick Saban's defense, and actually those linebackers against Saban in that Alabama game where Tua eventually came in and won the game in overtime. Wow. I think they only allowed like 23 or 26 points to Alabama in that title game. They were unbelievable in that game, and Glenn Schumann coached them up hardcore, and there was some hard hitting going on in that game. That's one thing that I love about Glenn Schumann. He gets the energy, gets the aggression going for that defense. And for someone who didn't play a down of college football, I'm not sure what his high school record or playing days were, but he didn't play a down of college football. For somebody to play down in college football, what a brilliant move that would be. If he comes to LSU, wins a national title as a defensive coordinator on his own, not just under Kirby Smart, in his shadow. He wasn't just a student assistant at Alabama. He then moved to a graduate assistant. He then moved to inside linebackers coach, defensive analyst. He then was even a director of player personnel for a few years from 24 to 2016. He was behind the scenes guy. So this is a dude who does a lot. I think he's a really smart dude, Glenn Schumann. I think just overall he's a really good mind that LSU would be very smart to go grab, because he just improves the I feel like maybe if Eli Ricks and people like that are on the fence with Glenn Schumann, I think after 5 minutes, 5 seconds even in a room with him, they would be won over, because Glenn Schumann would come in and be like, like already in a rage and just get them going crazy. And I mean, he's also a mild-mannered dude too. So I did a lot of research on Schumann. I think he is a really good hire for LSU, because, I mean, NIELSEN didn't work out. Freeman didn't work out. The other great mind I see is Schumann or Pete Golding. And Pete Golding is still going to be on my list, because it not only improves LSU, it also hurts Alabama at the same time. Yep, Muschamp went to UGA. Yep, that's what I heard. Yep, Roquan Smith went to UGA because of Schumann. See, yeah. And Schumann, he's probably a fantastic recruiter as well. I mean, Roquan Smith went to UGA because of him. I mean, I don't know what other guys he pulled, but I'm sure he's responsible for pulling a lot of them with Kirby Smart. I wouldn't be shocked if Kirby Smart's like, he's been my number 1 recruiter at Georgia this whole time. I wouldn't be shocked. Not at all. Schumann, it's very interesting, because people thought only football guys can coach football. Well, that's just damn wrong. That's just always been wrong. Some of the people who know football the most are people who've never played a down, just as truly as some of the people who know it the best are people who played. And I've seen both sides of that fence. Schumann, I think you definitely give him a huge chance in the interviewing process. Give him every opportunity to get that job, because LSU need a defensive coordinator, and I don't think we need to rush this. But what does that tell you if LSU have been rushing this process this whole time? What does that tell you? What does that tell you if LSU are rushing the DC process? It tells me that LSU are in a nick of time situation. That LSU have to pull something off now. They feel some type of pressure to pull something off now to make sure this guy doesn't leave, or that this recruit comes, or that this and this happens. That's what that tells me. And I'm not saying it's right. I'm not saying it's wrong. I'm not criticizing. I'm not, chastising. All I'm saying is that's what's going down. They feel pressured to do this fast, not only by the fan base, but themselves. They feel pressured by the players around them. They feel pressured by the players who are off the field recruiting in the 2021 2022 class. They feel pressure from the guys who are currently on the staff who they had to move heaven and earth to make sure they didn't go into the NFL draft. And a lot of them shouldn't have. It was fantastic that they didn't, because it would have been horrible advice for a lot of them to have gone to the NFL. A lot of them now have a great chance to raise their stock numerably, because I don't think Dari Rosenthal was really in a good spot with his draft stock at the end of 2020. Do you? I don't really think Austin Deculus had his draft stock at a great spot at the end of 2020. Do you? I don't think. Jacoby Stevens, his draft stock is going to be where it's going to be because he's just a great safety no matter what. He's just going to be a high draft pick anyway because he's going to be a great player in the NFL. Everybody kind of knows that. This year was kind of an extra way of him saying, I want to experience everything I can experience with LSU. If that includes wearing the number 7, that includes wearing the number 7. LSU got back the guys they needed to get back, but now recruiting has changed. It's Wild West out there. The transfer market is just, there was never something called the transfer market, with college football, but now there is. It's just like soccer in Europe. I mean, these guys are constantly moving, and you're going to see guys playing for a school a year. His freshman year, he's playing at USC. Doesn't like the coach, or the coach got fired, so then he goes to LSU his sophomore year, wins a national title at LSU, but then he decides he's kind of sick of that scene, and so he goes to Missouri for a year because he's told he'll be the number 1 guy, and there's a really good quarterback there. Quarterback tears his ACL, so his 4th year goes to Miami. You will see that script, that pattern play out exactly coming up, 100%. That is how the game has changed. And it's only going to change even more with players' rights, and it's a good thing. But at the same time, we can't go from one extreme to another. We cannot just. I'm not down with the. But hey, at the same time, these coaches are paid a ton of money. I mean, millions upon millions upon millions. I don't really want to hear too much whining about their job being difficult and the sleepless nights and all that. I mean, okay. Paid millions upon millions for those. If I had a few $1 million, I'd feel great with the sleepless nights for some of those situations. I mean, I don't feel too bad. They got to pull this off. LSU, I think we're in a good spot for the 2022 class as well. I think LSU with the linemen we're pulling in, Will Campbell and Bordelon. I mean, this is fantastic. I feel like it's a great establishment to the offensive line for the next few years. If LSU can get the 2019 freshmen Cardell Thomas and Anthony Bradford to finally perform to the potential, and Cardell Thomas just to recover really and get on the field. I mean, if Cardell can get on the field, he's an absolute beast of mayhem. He's an absolute wrecking ball. If Cardell, this is a 5-star talent. If Cardell, I'm a big fan of Cardell Thomas. If we can get him on the field in prime condition, he could be an absolute freak of nature for LSU, where you already have Ed Ingram there, who's a definitive freak of nature. Liam Shanahan at center, I feel like he is going to take that step this year. I feel like he's going to be someone LSU can absolutely depend on. James Craig, the jury is out on where he is as a offensive line coach. I feel like he was a great offensive line coach. I feel like he lost the plot in 2020. I feel like he just personally lost the plot in 2020. That's how we explain his drop off. Marcus Scott has committed, part of the 2022 class, corner. That is fantastic news from AD. AD just chimed that in. That's huge. Another huge improvement in the 2022 class. We already got B.J. Allen as well, a part of that DB class. DeColdis Crawford. That's just it's just a silly lineup already for this 2022 class. Walker Howard at quarterback. LSU could very well finish with a top 3, top 2 recruiting class in 2022. Fantastic starting position here. Some really, really awesome players that I just cannot wait to see playing in purple and gold. But hey, first things first, I could not wait to see guys like Mason Smith, Sage Ryan, Garrett Nussmeier, Deion Smith, Landon Jackson. I couldn't wait to see these guys playing for LSU. But now here they are. Some early enrollees have come into campus. Garrett Nussmeier is at LSU. Garrett Nussmeier, the quarterback of the future for LSU, is on campus early. That is a great thing. He's getting some great rehab on his hand where he injured, I believe it was his, I can't remember where it was on his hand. I'm thinking his thumb and index finger, but it was his throwing hand, I believe, for Nussmeier, and so it's kind of being taken seriously. But Nussmeier seems to be in very good condition with the thumb. Everything seems to be recovering. Fantastic with that. But, it's going to be a hell of a battle this summer for a quarterback position. Just imagine that battle. Miles Brennan, TJ Finley, if he stays, Max Johnson, and then Garrett Nussmeier coming in behind. That is going to be so much fun to cover. I mean, wow. The scrimmage tapes will be like $50 for me this year. If I can't be there, they'll be like, well, we're charging you this year to buy these things because they're a hot commodity. Nussmeier threw 8 touchdowns today. That's probably what's going to go down this year because, these guys, they know what's at stake here. Miles Brennan can win games for LSU. Miles Brennan could potentially beat Alabama. Garrett Nussmeier, we don't know. He's a freshman. I think he could win games for LSU, though. Can he beat Alabama as a freshman? Probably a stretch. Max Johnson, he can win games for LSU as well. I have a lot of faith in Max Johnson. Can he beat Alabama? Now, I paused for dramatic effect because I have a lot of faith in Max Johnson actually taking on Alabama. I called for Max Johnson to start that Alabama game. You know why? Because of the mobility, because of the threat of the mobility, because of his torching passing arm that no one even saw coming. This guy is laying it on thick, laying bombs everywhere. 400 and something yards to Kayshon Boutte, while Kayshon Boutte puts up 308 receiving yards as well, 14 catches from 19 targets. Oh my illustrious Lord, LSU were just destroying people with Max Johnson. Every time he came in as a caretaker, he just destroyed. It wasn't a caretaker. He came in and just lit people up. Auburn, he just drops a deuce to Kayshon Boutte, boom, long. Finally, we get some offensive action in that game. It was the first offensive touchdown in that damn game against Texas A&M. He prevents a shutout to Jimbo Fisher. Max Johnson comes in as a hero, throws a last-second dart slant to Terrace Marshall for the touchdown. The last ever catch Terrace Marshall would receive as an LSU Tiger. And it prevented an ugly 20-0 shutout. And then it was just 20-7. And thank God for Max Johnson doing that. Then Max Johnson finally is given the job against Florida. And he comes in and he just is heroic. He's just epic. And I loved what he was doing. Max Johnson, I've got to say, right now today, if it was LSU versus Alabama, season on the line every year. Season on the line. I don't care if LSU and Alabama are both undefeated going into that game. You play that game as if the season's on the line. Even though for Alabama, we know it isn't, because they'll always be able to get back in that CFP with one loss and no SEC title contention. But for LSU, our season's done if we lose that game against Alabama. Every year, LSU Alabama, season on the line. So, if the season's on the line right now, LSU Alabama, who are you starting? Who are you starting at quarterback? Is it Miles Brennan? Max Johnson? Is it TJ Finley? You think he really should stay and you think he's going to take that starting job? It could very well happen. Or you think Garrett Nussmeier, the freshman quarterback, the freshman slinger? For me, right now, AD just said it. Max Johnson. If the season's on the line right now, who I want in that game to win the game for LSU, I trust, and I put those keys in Max Johnson's hand. And I say, start that car, buddy. Put your foot on the gas and drive on down that road. Go kick some Bama ass. I really do believe Max Johnson, just what he showed me in the passing game especially was absolutely stunning. It was something like 19, 20 plus first down throws against Ole Miss. And I think it was in the teens against Florida as well. Like, this guy, he understands how to move the chains, but he understands how to light them up deep. He can make so many throws. I can't say that he can make every throw, but he can make 90% of them that are just fantastic, where it's like, it's shocking. And here's the thing. If it's shocking to us, remember this, it's shocking to the defenders as well, because they haven't seen it on tape either. And that is a great, great thing. Maybe the element of surprise with Max Johnson is a fantastic thing that LSU can keep a hold of there for going into 2021. But Garrett Nussmeier has just something special about him. He has a Burrow quality. Can you bench a player like that for an entire season? I don't think you can. I think you have to let Nussmeier play at least a bit. I mean, you got to at least let him go out there a bit, because he's got to have that experience. Hopefully we're in enough games where we're laying it on thick and destroying some teams, and it doesn't matter who's the quarterback competition. We need to get Garrett Nussmeier minutes, get him reps, no matter who wins that competition. But could Garrett Nussmeier win the quarterback competition, the greatest quarterback competition of all time? At LSU, could he be that guy to win that competition as a freshman? I think so. I think he could do it. I don't see why not. He's got the absolute intangibles. The way he runs in the backfield, the way he extends the play is Cirque du Soleil. Like, it's incredible. But, you know, I will end it very quickly. I feel like Glenn Schumann is a great hire. I feel like Pete Golding is someone LSU should go after to try and take from Nick Saban. I feel like Max Johnson and Miles Brennan are my two leading guys for the starting quarterback position, with Max Johnson as my number one guy. If there was a title game today, Max Johnson is who I wanted to start. I feel like LSU are in a great position with the returning starters. I feel like that's a huge establishment. That's a huge, huge win for LSU. And now, great news about Eric Gilbert potentially coming back. I think that's 80-20, 70-30 in that area probability. I feel like that might happen. It's looking like it could happen. Keyshawn Butte, what he showed in his first year, what Trey Palmer is going to want to show. I mean, time is running out for him as a junior. It's now or never. What we have at running back is absolutely startling. Ty Davis-Price, I feel, is about to have a Clyde Edwards-Helaire type season. And I feel like John Emery Jr. isn't far behind him as well. I feel like John Emery Jr. could also just be right below him in that pecking order. Ty Davis-Price, though, I feel like he's the complete package. I feel like he's going to understand how to throw the ball and get him involved more in the passing game. Because as we saw in that touchdown, they didn't give him for some reason against, I think it was Texas A&M. Or no, I think it was Arkansas. Yeah, it was against Arkansas. that touchdown catch he had that they didn't give to him, they wrongfully didn't give to him. That's the type of stuff that we can do with Ty Davis Price that for some weird reason we didn't run more of. Or when we did, it just seemed like it didn't work. Like Miles Brennan made a few really kind of sloppy passes and things like that. But we got to get Ty involved in the game in these multidimensional ways. I feel like he's an absolute threat in the passing game just as well as he is on the ground. But we weren't running him to the outside enough. I feel like DJ Mangus and Jake Peets, the fact that they have running game expertise will help Kevin Falk. Because Kevin Falk struggled in his first year as running backs coach. I think we're getting some guys in there who are not only just passing game fiends, but they also understand balance and how to win with balance because of what they did with Christian McCaffrey at Carolina, what they've done with what DJ Mangus did with his running backs. They set a lot of records at William and Mary as well. He had some big-time running back expertise. And yeah, these guys have both been running backs coaches as well, so they've got that into the mold. But what Pete did with McCaffrey is very interesting. McCaffrey led the league in receptions, all-purpose yards, and touchdowns, I believe, all in the same season. I believe it may have been McCaffrey's first or second year. Yeah, I think it may have been his rookie year, maybe. That was Jake Peets' doing. That was a lot of his setting him up in the perfect place, perfect way. And can he replicate that with Ty Davis Price? I believe so. But, yeah, running backs like Corey Kiner, Armani Goodwin as well, Kavontre Bradford. We saw him catch a fourth down touchdown against Florida. Like, LSU are loaded at that position. Armani Goodwin is a huge – I love this guy. We stole him from Auburn. But then Corey Kiner is a touchdown machine, an absolute freight train of hate pain. A Philistine of vicious and mean. This dude, Corey Kiner, LSU Odyssey are close to an interview with him. We were going to do an interview with him on the last signing day. His mom is actually a subscriber, which is crazy. I can't believe that she's a subscriber. It's unbelievable. I'm really grateful to her for that. And she's done a few interviews with us, and they're fantastic. Definitely check them out at LSUODYSSEY.com. Deneen is an unbelievable mom. And her son, Corey, he's got a lot to offer LSU. I think he's going to be an NFL running back in his future. This guy set a ton of records in Ohio. And just like, the last Mr. Ohio to join LSU, Joe Burrow, Corey Kiner is going to explode as a Tiger. So at running back, LSU are just stacked as well. We're stacked at running back. Receiver, there's Kayshon Boutte. There's potentially Eric Gilbert. Coy Moore. We're not sure what we're going to get out of Coy Moore. I feel like he's going to be a fantastic, fantastic receiver. Probably a 700, 600-yard guy this year. If he can get that 30, catch. Maybe 4 or 5 touchdowns. But who's going to be that second or third guy? Who's going to be that 10 to 12 touchdown guy while Boutte, is up in the high teens? Because that's where LSU should be. Who's going to be that guy? Jeray Jenkins? Alex Adams? Coy Moore? Trey Palmer? Trey Palmer could be that. This could be the year that Trey Palmer busts out, not only as a returning guy. He's had a returning touchdown in the last 2 years. He had a kickoff return, I believe, in his rookie year, and then he had a punt return this year that was just glorious. Or maybe it was reverse. I think it was a kickoff this year against Missouri or South Carolina, and then a punt return against Northwestern State in his rookie year. But could this be the year he actually explodes finally as a receiver? That'll be fantastic to see if he actually does, because I'm a big fan of Trey Palmer. Number 33, baby. Trey Palmer, I think, could he be a 1,000-yard receiver this year? Could he be a move-the-chains guy, I trust you on third or fourth down guy? While Kayshon Boutte can also be that, trust you guy, but also a home run hitter. It'll be interesting to see, because Trey Palmer, I saw him make some gutty, tough catches, especially with Max Johnson at quarterback. So, hopefully Eric Gilbert comes back to the fold. That would be fantastic. LSU need to find a new defensive coordinator. That's number one. From there, then you go for a linebackers coach and a safeties coach. And LSU Odyssey, we just posted a great piece that is already big time on our site. A lot of people viewing, a lot of people chiming in, a lot of people, saying who they want as candidates. It's a big piece. LSU's next defensive coordinator. LSU's next defensive coaching targets. Eli Ricks updates. Subscriber preview. It is a preview of the entire subscriber experience. What we're about to provide to subscribers daily for LSU Odyssey faithful. This is what it's all about. Celebrating LSU. Being positive about the future. Being real, though, at the same time, saying, these are the challenges we face, and this is what we have to do to overcome them. And these are the realities. These are the people we believe in who can take us to the goal, to help us reach the goals we want. This is the coach who can help us win a national championship. This is the quarterback that can take us there, who can beat Alabama. This is the defensive coordinator we should hire. All those questions we daily go on and on and on about at LSUODYSSEY.com. And sometimes it's too much to write. Sometimes, even for me, it's too much to write. So I got to do things like this where I can kind of talk it out and kind of say, hey, this is what's going on, because there's just so much news with LSU right now. It's been insane. We also did a interview with Mark Rogers. We will include that below in the description for this video. Also, our LSU's next defensive coaching targets. That includes a list of LSU's linebacking interview targets and the safeties coach interview targets. That is a fantastic piece there. A lot of hard work getting that done, because there's just information coming out of the ears. Also, NFLSU playoff stuff. We covered the playoffs, and there's just so much that these guys did that we had to split it in two. And so we did the Tigers in Tampa piece, NFLSU Part 1, Tigers in Tampa. That's up. That's talking about Devin White, Leonard Fournette, Kevin Minter, even Michael Divinity. What these guys have pulled off there in Tampa is fantastic. They might win a Super Bowl with Tom Brady, or for Tom Brady, really. But on the next one, NFLSU Part 2, we're going to go through Patrick Queen. Did his last few games in his rookie year dip? Did that affect him winning Defensive Rookie of the Year or not? We don't think so. But we go through his rookie season and, talk about that. And we're going to go through the Kansas City-Cleveland game and how there were 8 potential Tigers who could have played in that game had everybody been healthy. Had Greedy Williams, Grant Delpit, Odell Beckham Jr., Clyde Edwards-Helaire. Had everybody been healthy, there could have been 8 Tigers on the field. I mean, just imagine the smack talk that would have gone down if OBJ had been healthy for that game against Tyrann Mathieu. I mean, are you kidding me? Imagine if Mo Claiborne had still played for the Chiefs as well. I mean, Mo Claiborne could have been out there against, there was so much that that LSU players did in the NFL this weekend. It was just almost too much to cover. But we've got NFLSU Part 1 up there. We got NFLSU Part 2 coming. Top 10 Tigers of 2020. Our countdown is about to head into the top 5 coming up. We've got number 6 coming. We already got number 7. So number 10, number 9, number 8, number 7 are available. I'm not sure if it's too surprising, but it may be for somebody. If you can notice the pattern that we've gone with there, it's kind of bizarre, but it was unintentional. But I found it interesting when I looked at it later. But yeah, top 10 Tigers of 2020, NFLSU Parts 1 and 2 coming, and NFL's next defensive coaching targets, Eli Ricks updates, subscriber preview piece. And we also got the interview with Mark Rogers below. So, yeah, tons of content coming out of our ears, coming out of our face, coming out of our veins, coming out of our nose. I mean, LSU Odyssey signing off. What more can I say that hasn't been said? LSU Odyssey signs off. Love you all. Peace, love, go Tigers.